Thanks for tuning in to watch The Ordinary Filmmaker. I've got a bit of a surprise for you today, as well as several news bits. But first, why am I showing you pictures of a train or video of a train? Well, I took a trip to downtown Toronto today to pick up some kit. I made a visit to my favorite camera store, Downtown Camera, and Patrick had something waiting for me. Curious what it is? Well, you can probably already guess by this B-roll here. Well, here goes. Are you ready? It's a big box. I mean, look at the size of this thing. Can you read the fine print? It is 4K. Look at that. I got it. I was the first one in line, picked it up, and I haven't even opened the box yet. That's right, I haven't put it on the camera yet. I've got the 50mm f1.2, the RF 50mm f1.2 on the R5 right now, but I haven't opened this thing up. So let's take a look. Now, as far as the box goes, this is where I have all the serial number information on the top here. We can see the 100mm right here. It's an f2.8. And let's go ahead and open up the box. So what's the first thing we see? So on top, you've got your serial number card. Usually with these things, what I just go ahead and do is I register online. Now, because I'm living in Canada, I register with Canon Canada. And the nice thing is, no matter what I'm doing, where I move to, I don't have to worry about these things. Everything is registered in a single location, so I can rapidly get that serial number if I need. Also on top is a, well, I don't often read these things. It's basically, well, using the image stabilizer, attaching a hood, and using the control ring. So I can safely put this aside. I don't need this. And of course, right here we have their suede. I don't know if it's faux suede or not, but you have a suede carrying bag for the lens. And now we got to dig down a little deeper, and this is where we get to the main event here. Main event? That doesn't make any sense, does it? Okay, so the first thing to come out, oh, it's like landing a large bass. It didn't want to come out there. Actually, well, it appears much bigger than I thought it would be. Now, some of this is the hood, but let's open it up. Oh, it is a lot bigger than I thought. Oh my God, this thing is pretty big. I don't remember the EF version of this lens being very big. Look at the size of it. It's quite huge. You can see the front end of it here. The business end looks good. Yeah, because again, I haven't even used this. I'm actually, for those of you who have the EF 100mm, let me know. I don't remember it being this big, but here's the thing with memory, it fades over time. Now, as we saw in the pictures, one thing you do notice about this lens is it does have an SA control here. I don't think I'm going to fiddle around with that right now, and I believe it is locked. Yep, I just unlocked it. Let's go back to the locking position. And let's see, I think it locks, no, it only locks in the center. So keep that locked. We've got focus, manual focus. So it's a basic standard Canon L series lens. You've got the ability to choose manual or autofocus, and if you autofocus, you can choose, you know, to infinity or right up close, which is, guess where I'm going to be using this thing, and of course, image stabilization. So I'm really excited to try out this lens. I'm going to put the lens hood on. Okay, you got to admit, this looks like a really serious piece of kit right here. Now, I don't remember the 100mm, the EF 100mm looking this big. Wow, this is awesome. So I should pack this away, and then we'll get right into the news. And there is some really interesting news today, and I'll get to that just shortly. Now, the lens cap should go on the lens. Last thing I want to do is break this thing or damage it in any way whatsoever before I've had a chance to use it. And we've had some really crazy weather here today. We had a tornado warning. Our phones were going crazy from Environment Canada warning us about tornadoes. And I am sad to report that just not far from where I was earlier today, a tornado did strike around the Barrie area. And I feel bad for those guys because, you know, this is not the first time they've actually had a tornado strike. About 10, 15, or 20 years ago now, they had a pretty serious tornado event. So I'm actually in between cells right now. There's a massive cell over there that's passing to the south. There's a massive cell there. And there's one not far behind me. And I'm hoping to get all this filmed, including the B-roll, before it teams down again. Now, if you don't see some great fancy B-roll, well, that's because I didn't have a chance to film it before the weather got a little crazy. Just an absolutely crazy day. just nuts. And also the white balance, I've done my best. I use an application to properly measure it, but things are changing dramatically, so we'll see how this actually looks out. And I've set the f-stop as well. Everything, using my Ninja off here, you can't see it off to the screen, off to the side. I've got everything set, I've got the white balance set, but again, we're dealing with rapidly changing weather systems and of course lighting. All right, now let's talk a little bit about some news. Canon issued a firmware update for the Canon R6 and the 1DX Mark III, and I think it was just last week, and the big news there was, of course, Canon Log 3 and dual recording. That's right, you can record video at the same time to both cards for both cameras. The Canon R5 is supposed to get a firmware update on or before August the 18th. Now, according to Canon, it's going to be August the 18th, but Craig on Canon Rumors has said that we might get that a little bit sooner. He also says that it's supposed to be a really big update. Now, the last update for the R5 was really quite big. That's where we got Canon Log 3 and several other things. I'm just trying to wonder, well, what would make this update to the R5 a big deal? Okay, removing that 30-minute record limit, that is nice, and I would like to see that gone, but for most of the shooting I'm doing, like the B-roll I recorded today and this video, it doesn't really impact me a whole lot. But still, I would like to not have that 30-minute record limit. Now, some other exposure controls that are better for video, I would really love to see it. I think a lot of us would benefit from that. The ability for the camera to be able to choose the focus, the exposure based on the focus point to expose for the subject, especially in talking head pieces like this, I think would be a great benefit. It would be a really terrific benefit. And we see this with Sony, the A7C, the A7S III, so it's definitely doable. We're going to get more video codecs. I don't know what they're going to be. I don't know if we're going to get Apple ProRes 422. I don't know if we're going to get to be able to choose between H.264 and H.265. I'm really curious, but Craig does say it is going to be a big one. So, yay, my birthday's coming up in a couple of weeks, so it would be really nice to have a firmware update from Canon for my birthday. So Canon, if you're watching, my birthday is at the end of the month. It's on July the 29th. A firmware update in the morning to mid-afternoon would, well, I would very much appreciate that. So firmware update for the Canon R5 coming shortly. And another update for you. Well, actually, before I get to this update, I want to talk to you about some lenses. So yes, obviously, big news today is the Canon RF 100mm f2.8 has been released. Downtown Camera in Toronto, downtown Toronto, is actually a pretty big camera store. They shift a lot of volume. And I was told they didn't get a lot. They didn't get a lot of these things. And I had to liberate one of them from the store. I took it out there and I ran far. This has already been placed on Canon's, hey, we're trying to make as many as we can, but it's 2021. You're just going to have to wait. Other lenses are getting delayed. It's just a tough time. But I do have some good news for you. Only this news is going to be happening in 2022. Remember we talked about the Canon EOS R and the RP and the successors, and I mentioned that the EOS R is going to have, it really has two successors. The R6, which is at the high end, and a camera that's going to fit somewhere between the R6 and the RP. I also mentioned that there would be a successor to the RP. Well, not so much that it's a successor, it's more of a replacement. When Canon came out with the EOS R and the RP, they were designed as one-offs, enough to let the market know that they were serious about full-frame mirrorless. So what's the big news? No, it's not an APS-C camera, but the camera that's designed to replace the RP, and we don't have a name for it. You ready for the retail price of this thing? Remember, the RP came in at around $1,299 US. This replacement for the RP, $799. I don't recall that I've actually seen the RP go on sale for $799. I've seen it go on sale for $899 during Christmas and Black Friday, but I've yet to see it go on for $799. That's its starting price. Now, when you look at this lens here, the starting price is around $1399, and then they took the EF version of this lens and they bumped up the price, and I think that's dirty. That's dirty. I get it. Think times are tough. You've got to make some tough decisions, but you know what? Milking your clients, your customers? Well, at least that's how a lot of us see it. That's not the way to go. You shouldn't have jacked up the price of the EF. Make a lot of the RF versions. Sure, you're going to raise the price. We get it, but you know, jacking up the price of the old ones and there's no new version, that doesn't feel very good. Now, back to this RP replacement. It is a CR2, so Canon Rumors, or Craig from Canon Rumors, says that, well, this is coming from known sources. It's been validated, and based on some news he released a little while ago that turned out not to be true, Craig's been extra careful with putting out news, making sure that he validates them before he lets us find out about it. But the big deal to me is not the price, although that's a pretty big deal, but what are the capabilities going to be of this thing? Is Canon finally done with 1.7 times crop? Is Canon finally done with contrast detect autofocus in 4K on entry-level cameras like the RP replacement? See, here's what I would love to see. I'd like to see really high detail 1080, even if this it has to do 4K. It has to do 4K 24, 25, and 30 frames per second. And give us a sensor so it can do full sensor readout. And give us 1080, but give us 4K oversample 1080. Sony does it. Let's put it in this camera. Let's make 1080 one of the biggest deals of this camera, make it do it really well, and give us 120 frames per second. All right, I'm starting to get nervous here. The clouds are looking really nasty above. I don't know if I'm going to have time to do B-roll. I can feel a shift in the temperature, and it's gotten a whole lot darker. So I'm looking at I'm moving my hands. So IRE, I think, yeah, I'm right around 60. My hands are around 60, so my face is probably around 60, 65. I'm going to stay out here a little longer, but those are some pretty heavy clouds going. I'm going to have to run because not all of this stuff is weather sealed, including the laptop and the Ninja 5. So let me just sort of sum things up here pretty quickly. Really excited to hear about this Canon RP replacement. It's looking to be a really, really exciting camera. The R5 is a great camera, but come on, if you really want to do well, if you want to do well with cameras, you really got to come in with a very, very good, solid, entry-level, full-frame mirrorless camera that appeals to people who want to take photos, but also on the video side. And if you can do that, I think you've got a winner. Okay, I'm starting to feel drops, so that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker as I rush to get everything inside without getting wet. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you again soon. Sorry about this very quickly a rush, but I don't want to get my camera equipment soaked.